Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on December 13th, 2021 at approximately 4:50 a.m. PST. Yesterday was, to say the least, a little trying. I went to bed about 10:30-ish the night before, maybe 11 o'clock, and as per usual ended up waking up at about 3 o'clock. Well, net result, I got up, I played a video game, Skyrim to be exact, until about 6 o'clock in the morning, and decided I was still tired, so I was going to go back and get a little bit of sleep. Well, the problem with that was I went down back to go to sleep, and all of a sudden my blood pressure went through the roof, my pulse went through the roof, right, and created all kinds of problems. Now, this is the first time I've been that far off kilter in literally years. Okay, last time I was that far off kilter, and rest assured it crossed my mind, was 3 years ago when I had a stroke. Needless to say, wasn't looking forward to that. So I fought with it for about an hour, and about 7 o'clock, about 7 o'clock in the morning, so about an hour later, I actually, because I could not get out of bed properly, I actually phoned my son up front to get him to get me the medication for my heart just in case. And I got him to get my blood pressure and my blood pressure machine as well. But it kicked the stuffing out of me, and I spent the better portion of the day in bed with no energy. I'm not doing great today, but like as far as energy level goes, I was back up at 3 o'clock this morning. So what the heck? But anyway, I found out during the day that turns out that there was an absolutely massive tornado that came through the States. Apparently, one ran some 250 miles, creating abs in just a couple hours. Now, I don't know the story behind it. All I do know is I'm working on a theory. I know I'm connected to the planet. I know I react to the way it's behaving. And people keep talking about World War III coming. Only people keep talking about World War III as far as the people go. Problem is, in my opinion, World War III's already started. It's Mother Nature fighting back. Now, scientists already know that that negative energy does create problems with plant life. And from my understanding and from my insight, Earth, which is also a race called Caboran, okay, you know it as Mother Earth, as Gaia, as any number of things. I know her as Itza, considering that's what she told me her name was. Now, you don't have to believe any of that. As a matter of fact, you really don't have to believe any of it. This is a live recording, by the way, so if what happens is I get finished the recording, I double check the date and post it as is. Now, the nice little part about it, when you take a look at the issue of the energy, okay, you'd think people would have figured this out. Scientists already know that negative energy negatively affects the planet. Well, the planet's really ticked with the amount of Ita is really, really ticked off with the amount of negativity running between humans, as far as the waste, the fighting, the conflict, the fear, all of that. If you're empathic, you already know that when people are going through these sorts of emotions, they actually can cause physical pain. Well, you know, you'd think people would have learned this, only clearly they haven't. I remember 2,000 years ago, spanning over quite a while actually, from I don't know the year I was born, but I spent 4 lifetimes spanning across the Roman Empire. Now, when I started there, I was a serf. Okay, there was nothing to my life. There was no special. I wasn't anything special. I wasn't anybody special. I was just a serf. Okay, and I knew that people were being treated poorly, but I couldn't do anything in my position. That wasn't a possibility. So another lifetime. I show up there. Not too terribly long after, I became a young senator, and I spent my entire career trying to convince the Senate that if they kept treating the serfs like garbage and taxing the daylights out of them, they would have a rebellion. They wouldn't listen to me. They figured, oh, you're just a young idealistic Senate, member of the Senate. You know, you're just a young idealistic senator, and you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I spent my lifetime trying to convince them of this, to no avail. What they did was they kept treating the people poorly, kept upping the taxes, kept, basically taking their freedoms away. And eventually, what that did was cause the gladiatorial pits to come into existence. I don't know, maybe the senators and the wealthy were bored. Okay, I really don't know why they did that, but I do know this isn't exactly recorded in the history books. Of course, who wants to find out who wants the government? Try that again. This is a live recording, which means I check the date, I double check the date, and then I go back and write, and I just post it as is. But I don't know what caused them to do it, but maybe they were bored. In any event, they started fabricating charges and arresting professional soldiers. Start off with the young one with the lower ranks, worked their way up to start arresting generals. Took their rank away and threw them into the pits, knowing full well that these people would take control and train the gladiators how to fight better so it'd be more entertaining. I don't know about you, but I've never found war to be all that entertaining, and war has certainly never brought peace. It brings quiet, but not peace. So time goes on, and the gladiator pits get a little bit more involved. Right, they get the people trained, and I kept telling them, "You keep doing this, you're going to have a rebellion." Well, they didn't believe me. Now, virtually every lifetime I've come in trying to pass on this message to people that I was in contact with, sometimes having a much wider reach, other times not so much so. So they didn't listen. The next lifetime, I died as an old senator, still always fighting for the same reason, to pass on one simple message, and that still is, working together, we can make this a better world. Okay, but we have to work together. Now, the neat part about it is I spent my life doing this. Well, the next lifetime I came back in, and this is how I know past lives affect the way your current life is. Because I came back in, set it up so that I wandered in, I became a gladiator. Now, do understand, I did not cause the rebellion. I just knew it was coming. And I spent my time as a gladiator. Really only 5 or 6 years, but I spent my lifetime with them going, okay, look, I know there's going to be a rebellion, and I know this is going to go bad. There's innocent people going to get killed. I know this. But I'm going to encourage you yes, I've got an itchy nose. I really encourage you and ask you, please, when the rebellion starts, yes, innocents will die, but they're not the target. Okay, they will get hurt. Get them out of your way. Okay, if they're not carrying a weapon, including if soldiers are standing there and they throw their weapons down, let them go. Okay, the people you're after are the senators that put you in here. Those are the ones. Stay on target. Well, net result, the rebellion happened, and like I said, I was nothing special in the rebellion. I didn't start it. As a matter of fact, I did more of my time in the rebellion was spent dragging people out of the way, and periodically, it wasn't a question of fighting my gladiatorial brothers and sisters. It was a question of intercepting a blind strike that would have, in the mess of all of this, would have killed innocent people that didn't actually do anything wrong. So, we had the rebellion and carried on. Now, the reality of it is, and I'm still trying to pass this message on to people, is that working together, we can make this a better lifetime. We can make this a better world for everybody. Okay. There are a lot of things I can remember, and people have asked me about my past lives before. Okay. To be in a real succinct, short form. Okay. There are a lot of lifetimes that I've lived through. Okay, that I remember. Now you don't have to believe in past lives. Heck, as far as I'm concerned, you don't have to believe yesterday happened. Because in case you hadn't noticed, there's no functional proof. Okay, yes, you've got pictures that you can look at. But I mean, I'm looking at things like when we take a look at the trip to the moon, there are people that will tell you, in spite of the evidence, it never happened. It was all fabricated. And I'm seeing people now saying that all kinds of things are fabricated. One of the best fabrications I ever heard about was the fact that the dinosaur bones were fabricated. They're just a hoax. Okay, so I'm not asking for you to believe. This is simply the way I live. This is the way that my philosophy in life works. That's it. It's worked for me for a very long time. Well, I call it a long time. This lifetime, 58 years. Okay, but the reality is that if we are working together, we can make this a better world. Now, there were 4 lifetimes there that covered a lot of distance, saw a lot of the ancient Roman Empire. Okay. Am I a Roman scholar today? Not even remotely. Well, I guess if you think that Kelowna is kind of remote to the sun, Kelowna is where I actually am right now. Then yeah, that's remote. But lifetimes do link together. I can jump ahead a little to 1828. Well, actually, it'd be a little before that. 1828 was when the incident happened. But in the early 1800s, I was a fisherman. I was obviously living in a fishing village, but I was living in Northern Ireland. And at the time, okay, and it was kind of a weird setup, but at the time, I'd lost my mom and my sister to be in childbirth. And Dad was devastated afterwards. So what ended up happening with that is, as I got a little older, Dad says, "Look, I don't care who you want to connect with, who you want to start dating, who you want to spend time with. I don't care. Just understand, because what caused that was I ended up running into a young lass on the hillock above our village. Okay, she was very well off, and I was a fisherman, kind of two different social classes. And my dad had said very simply that, if you want to see her, go ahead. Understand, I will accept her as is, but her family may not. Well, the very long and the short of it was, it turned out she was betrothed to another wealthy gentleman. Only the guy was a control freak, and she decided that when everybody was leaving the area because there was a famine going on, everybody was heading for Dublin, which was due southwest. Correction, due southeast of us. Okay, we were up in the top of them, right by the Atlantic Ocean. Well, she had told him she wasn't going with him. Net result was she got murdered. But when she got murdered, she died. Like when she died, it was a very long story. I'm not going into it right now. She was carrying our kid. Now understand, back then, yeah, she was betrothed. Absolutely. But back then, being betrothed did not mean you were engaged. It meant you were supposed to be engaged. So we had gotten together and everything was going fine. Her betrothed decided that murdering her was a better option than losing her because she didn't come. Right. Net result, she died. took our child with her when she died. Both of them died, obviously. She was pregnant. But I lasted about 5 years, and then I literally died of a broken heart. Where that becomes pertinent is that the very next lifetime, in the late 1800s, I was born, and I came back mad. Okay, when I was born, I was a very angry child all the way into my senior years. Okay, but I got into the military, went into developing. I was actually involved in developing, and no, I don't remember the formula for it, so scrap that noise. But I was actually involved in building mustard and creating mustard gas. Like I said, it was violent. I spent a lot of time putting a lot of people in prison, or putting a lot of people in the grave. Actually, I remember when I was only 16 years old, I was arrested for doing something. I forget what I was doing, but I know they threw me in the jail, and I told them, "Don't put me in there. You don't want to put me in there." Only the authorities didn't take it quite the way that I was hoping. It wasn't that I felt that I had done anything wrong, but I knew what was going to happen. So they put me in a prison cell with 8 other people. This was in Chicago, Illinois. Net result is I ended up killing the 8 people in the prison, in the jail. And when they found the people, I was sitting there very relaxed. I had 8 bodies right in the prison in jail with me, and I was very relaxed about it. Right. And when they said, "Well, what the heck happened?" It's like, well, they were idiots. They picked a fight. Right. Well, why are they all dead? I'm a better fighter. You know, the problem was I spent my entire life from the late 1800s to 1956. Okay. So I was pretty old when I finally passed away. Actually, come to think of it, I've been about my age. But my age now. But I passed away near the end of my life. I had an interesting run in and this is where it gets really whacked out. Up until that point, I was absolutely a violent individual. I'd kill somebody at the drop of a hat, but I would chalk it up to I'd make sure they swung first. So I managed to get enough people behind me. I didn't end up in jail a lot. As a matter of fact, I ended up in the military. But net result was at the end of my life, I had one encounter that changed everything. Okay. So when I came back this lifetime, I was lucky enough to actually connect the two lifetimes together. And the long and the short of it is, I found a way where I can actually connect which lifetime goes to what. I think, if I'm right, I think I've got 18 past lives on this planet. Okay. That I've already documented. I'm in the middle of documenting others as well. Okay. If you don't believe in past lives, that's great. Like I said, I'm not here to convince you. But what I am here to do is pass on this one simple message. And that is that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. But it's going to take the effort of everybody. Okay. You're going to have to do your own part. Am I asking you to join me on this endeavor? Absolutely. Because what I have found out is if you follow 3 simple karmic laws, be true to yourself first, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, energy out, energy in. If you do that, we can straighten this world out. We can make it a better world. Because if everybody cleans up their own little pocket, it will create bigger and bigger areas where we're simply helping each other. We're focusing on assisting. Now, I mentioned just a couple of days ago, I mentioned I've got a little project that I put in motion myself, which I am starting effective immediately. Well, really, yeah, it is immediately. This is December, so I'm going to be running December of 2021 to November of 2022. And I'm going to be, I know how much money it's going to cost me to run my house. So I'm going to be taking 10% of everything over that and putting it aside. At the end of that year, or at the end of the year, at the end of November, somewhere probably, I don't know what date, but in early December, in time for Christmas. And Christmas is simply convenient. It's a globally recognized time of year. Whether you celebrate it yourself or not is irrelevant. Okay, but it gives me a way of doing something. Now, I personally believe in the idea of what the church would call tithing. I will not give money to a church. I won't do it to your big to your big charities. And the reason for it is simple. The overhead for them eats most of the charitable donations. From everything I've gathered, that's what happens to it. Now, if I find out about a charity that doesn't eat all of the overhead, then that's fine. Then I may consider that. At this point, I look at it this way. I'm taking 10% of my surplus. Remember that thing about be true to yourself first? I'm making sure I take care of my household before I start trying to help everybody else's. And I really strongly encourage you to do that as well. I got told a little while ago that I was actually trying to start a cult by telling people to be nice to each other. And if that's okay, if that's the case, if that's what you believe, then I'll put it to you in simple terms. Join my cult. Follow me and follow what I'm doing. Okay. Because at the end, in December of 2022, and I will be keeping people posted as I go along. Okay. But in 2022, I'm going to be taking 10% of whatever is exceeding my cost of living. Okay, what I have to live for me to be comfortable. I'm taking 10% over top of that, of what's above that. So I'm not putting myself out, but I'm going to take that money and I'm going to put the cash into envelopes, into 12 Christmas cards. And then I'm going to go down the street or into the mall. I haven't decided which. Okay. But I will take those 12 envelopes that will simply say, they will simply be a card that says Merry Christmas from Inner Voice Enterprises, signed R. Keith Andrews, because I have to be the owner. I'm not looking for tax deductions. I'm not offering tax receipts to anybody. Okay, it's just not going to happen. Okay, well, tax receipts to people that I'm doing work for, certainly I do. But most of it doesn't work that way. But anyway, that chunk of money will be split into 12. I will be putting it in 12 different Christmas cards as evenly as I can. And that will go to 12 people. And the reason I will do it that way, 12 is simply in base 12 numerology. That is the number of ultimate wisdom. Okay, so that's the number. That's, if you want, it's a random choice that I just picked. 12 months of the year, 12 people, whatever. And I will go to people and I will hand them this envelope or this Christmas card. And all it's going to say is Merry Christmas from Inner Voice Enterprises, signed R. Keith Andrews, and it'll be cash. And then I'll wander off. What they do with it is up to them. Okay, in this way, all of the money that I'm donating, okay, will be going to these people. And here's what I was referring to about I'm not taking tax receipts. If people decide they want to get in on this, that's their choice. Okay, if you decide to, sure, it'll be appreciated because the more money I can get to people, the better, to individuals. It's not going to be doing a massive change for a great big city or for some sort of massive endeavor at this point. In time, it may be, depends on how this goes. But this is out of my pocket. Okay, and this is just what I'm personally doing. Because this way I know if I'm giving $100 to somebody, they're getting $100. And before you jump on that little thought, no, I'm not going to be going down the street and finding the people that are homeless and go, here's $100. Because most of them are already in serious trouble. And giving people that are clearly on drugs is not a good way to help them. Okay. Do I talk to people that are on drugs? Absolutely. As I've mentioned before, I do not see anybody as being of less worth than anybody else. Hence my wooden sign over here that says I am worth it. Now, if you call what I'm talking about doing starting a cult, hey, have a happy, call it what you will, but join the bandwagon if you'd like. Okay. The reality from my standpoint is very simple. Let's start a pandemic. Let's start smiling at everybody you meet. Okay. It's a weird concept. It's Christmas. What the heck? Why not? My understanding is it actually takes less muscles to smile than it does to frown. And frankly, I'm lazy. So I figure if I can get away with smiling and not frowning, great. You'll notice I don't smile a whole lot anyway, but then my life hasn't exactly been something to write what I call nice things home about. But the reality of it from your standpoint is now is the only time in existence that anybody can ever do anything. You can talk about what you should have done. You can dream about the things you wish you had done when you were younger. And you can talk about the things you're planning on doing in the future. But the reality is, the ones in the past you can't do at that point. If you were hoping to get a task done by the time you were 20 and you're now 21, you're not making it. Okay. You can still get the task done in most cases. And I encourage you to take a look at your past and see if there's projects or goals that you had, dreams that you had that you bypassed, that you put aside. Okay, and let's say you put them aside because other people told you you can't do it. Well, here's the reality behind it. This little book, okay, and I've got a number of them, but this little book here is the culmination of decades of work. Okay, and yeah, these are the little figures that I've been painting. As you can see, this one here is what they call a fire element. There's not much to paint, and that's all I've done. I'm not the greatest painter. I'm not even a really good one in my eyes. But is it a hobby that takes things out of the way? Certainly. Gives me a little bit of a sidetrack. But the reality is, if you put a project on hold, especially if you've done so because other people told you you weren't good enough, I'll tell you, people have told me, artists aren't very good. I've seen art sell. The most amazing one I ever saw was somebody took a white canvas sheet, painted it completely with white paper or with white paint, put a mild frame, just a simple frame around it, hung it on the wall, and sold the thing for thousands of dollars. And he called it Whiteout. Now, if somebody can sell that, that's a case of marketing. But my opinion is, if somebody can sell something like that, or like there was a cartoon on TV for a while called Stickman. This is what people are buying, so you've got to be able to do that. Okay, if you desire to become an artist, if you desire to become a writer, I'm a writer. Okay, on top of being a spiritual guide, okay, and UFO specialist, okay, UFO alien culture specialist, that sort of thing. Yeah, my life's weird. But the reality is, regardless of what your dream is, it's time to start making these dreams happen. It's time to start being true to you, and it's absolutely time to be to reach out and help the people around you where it's possible. My sincere sympathies and condolences do go out to the people that have suffered this recent tornado that came through the states. Okay, I mean, I've been caught in tornadoes myself. Okay, I've been caught in everything except no, that was landslide, which technically could be classified as an earthquake. I haven't been caught in a tsunami. Okay, but then I don't spend a lot of time on the water, so it's a little hard to get caught in a tsunami. But it is a horrendous loss to have your life all of a sudden turned upside down. And the way this tornado apparently hit, it came out of nowhere. Well, came out of somewhere. It came out of the sky. But I do encourage you to reach out to the people there. And if there's anything you can do to help, even if it is just a simple let them know that you know about it, that you are, that you do feel for them. You may not be able to do anything. Not a lot of people can. Lord knows there's not a whole lot I can do for the people down in the states that are going through this. But people have been asking me, when's World War III going to start? World War III already did. It's the world fighting back. And this is why it is so imperative that we turn around and start really helping each other, really working together to make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, that said, I'm going to bring this to a close because we've hit the half-hour mark. I will be back again tomorrow. Okay? But until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.